Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how we're always on the lookout for ways to make our code, well, faster.
Yeah.
Today, we're really diving deep into something called just-in-time compilation, JIT.
Ah, Jay.
See if it lives up to the hype.
Right.
We've got a couple of awesome blog posts from the Dojo MX blog to guide us.
Cool.
They've really laid out how JIT works
Okay.
and why it's gaining traction in some unexpected places.
Interesting. I'm ready to dig in if you are.
Absolutely. But let's take a step back first.
Yep.
For anyone who might be new to this whole world.
Sure.
What exactly are we talking about when we say compiling?
Oh, good point. It's like, imagine you've written this amazing code, right?
Right.
But your computer's processor, it's kind of picky.
Right.
It only understands machine code, its own language. It's like trying to explain a Shakespearean sonnet using only emojis.
Uh-huh. I love that analogy.
Right. So that's where the compiler swoops in. It acts as our trusty translator.
All right.
It takes our elegant, human-readable code and converts it into something the computer can actually digest.
It's like having a universal translator for code. So cool. Now, this whole idea of a compiler, it's got a pretty wild history, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking way back to the 1950s, right?
Yeah, like way back.
With Grace Hopper and the A0 compiler.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe that back then, people were programming computers by flipping switches? Like physical switches.
It's mind-blowing. It's like imagine writing a novel by rearranging grains of sand on a beach.
Right. And then Grace Hopper comes along with this revolutionary idea.
Mm-hmm.
Why not have a program that automatically inserts these pre-written snippets of code?
Genius. She saw programmers wasting time rewriting the same things over and over again.
Totally. And that's how the A0 compiler was born.
And get this. People doubted her.
No way.
They thought computers couldn't program themselves.
Talk about being ahead of her time.
Light years ahead.
So this brings us to, I think, a really important distinction. Traditional, like ahead-of-time compilation.
AOT.
Right. AOT versus the star of our show today, JIT.
So think of it this way. With AOT, it's like building a car engine.
Okay.
But you have to have every single part meticulously put together before you can even start the car.
I see.
A lot of upfront work.
Makes sense.
Right.
So then JIT is more like having a mechanic fine-tuning your engine while you're driving.
Exactly.
Making those adjustments on the fly to get the best performance.
You got it.
Okay, so JIT compilation, it's like this multitasking marvel, constantly making our code slicker and faster. But how does it actually, work its magic?
It's all about real-time optimization. Picture this. A JIT compiler is like a coach watching a game, right?
Okay, I like where this is going.
They're observing the players, spotting weaknesses, making those strategic substitutions to, boost performance.
Yeah, right, calling a timeout to strategize.
Exactly. And JIT is kind of the same. It's analyzing your code as it runs, constantly looking for areas that could be, a little bit faster.
So it's like having a code coach right there in the thick of it.
Yeah, exactly. And once it spots an opportunity, bam, it gets to work transforming that section of code, making it sleek and efficient.
So it's optimizing on the fly.
You got it. But, and this is important, sometimes optimizations, they can backfire. It's like tinkering with your car engine to make it faster, but you actually make it less efficient.
Oh yeah, been there.
Right. Well, JIT compilers, they're smart. They can actually detect when this happens.
So there's a safety net built in.
Absolutely. If an optimization makes things worse, it can actually undo it, go back to the original code. So your program stays stable even while it's being, fine-tuned.
That's amazing. So it's like having a self-correcting engine.
Exactly. A great example of all this is actually something you probably use every day. Google's V8 JavaScript engine.
V8, oh right. That's what powers JavaScript in, like our web browsers.
You got it. V8 uses a two-tiered approach with JIT to make browsing as smooth as possible. Think of it like you're streaming a movie, right?
Okay, yeah.
You don't have to wait for the entire thing to download before you start watching.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
Right. So V8 starts by interpreting the JavaScript code quickly, just to get things going. But while that's happening in the background, it's keeping track of which parts of the code are being used most often. Then, it focuses its optimization efforts on those critical sections, compiling them into super fast machine code.
That's clever. So is it prioritizing, like the VIP sections of the code?
Exactly. That's why websites and apps are so incredibly fast and responsive now.
Because of JIT.
It plays a big role.
So JIT compilation, sounds amazing, right?
Yeah.
Makes our code faster, smoother. But like with anything, there's got to be some kind of trade-off.
You're absolutely right. JIT's powerful, but it's not a magic bullet, One thing is security. Because JIT compiles on the fly, it can actually open up some vulnerabilities.
Oh, really?
Yeah, imagine like a malicious program, it sneaks in some code when the JIT compiler isn't looking.
Okay, now that sounds kind of scary.
Yeah, it's a concern, but security researchers, they're on it. They're always working on making JIT compilers more secure. Another thing is resources.
Okay.
JIT, that optimization process, it takes processing power, especially when it's first analyzing your code.
So it's like this balancing act. You get faster code, but it might need a bit more horsepower from your computer.
Exactly. And JIT is not always the answer either.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, for smaller programs or when resources are limited, the gains from JIT, they might not be worth the extra cost.
Huh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, and some languages even let you turn JIT off if you need to.
So it all comes down to what you're actually doing with your code, right? And like the environment that you're working in.
Exactly. It's about choosing the right tool for the job. Now, this might surprise you, but JIT compilation, it's not actually new.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Java, it really popularized JIT, but languages like Lisp and Smalltalk, they were using similar ideas way back in the 60s and 70s.
Wow, so it's got some serious history behind it.
It does, and now it seems like more and more languages are like embracing JIT.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, we're seeing languages like Ruby, PHP, Erlang, they're all adding or expanding JIT support, which is really cool. It shows that this push for faster, more efficient code, it's like an ongoing thing.
It's everywhere. Well, that was a fascinating deep dive into JIT compilation. It's like discovering this secret weapon for your code, making it run faster, smoother, just better. We learned how it works, the good and the bad, even a bit of its history.
It's been quite the journey.
It has. And for our listeners, if you want to dive deeper into JIT compilation and how it's being used, we really encourage you to check out those resources from the Dojo MX blog that we mentioned. There's a ton of amazing information in those posts. That's it for today. Thanks for joining us. Keep exploring, keep coding, and until next time, may your code run at lightning speed.